Hey everyone, and welcome to an all-new Mew Mew blog thingy, and to part 3 of our dub edits and localization series. Today I'll be finally talking about the English dub of the show, Mew Mew Power. I've done several videos concerning the changes done to the show, but this is sort of necessary before going through the other dubs in the next 2 videos. So, to the 1 or 2 of you that missed the English dub when it aired, enjoy this video, and to those who have, I hope you'll learn something new. As many of you know, this dub had a lot of changes. I'd talk about all of them, but that would go on for hours. If you want to know about them, I refer you to this playlist of over 30 videos that go over the major edits and dialogue changes. No, I said major, so these don't even show the minor changes, so it doesn't even cover everything. So for this video, I'll go over the stuff that I haven't really talked about much. For starters, the title of the show. As you can tell, the changing of the title gave a huge hint to fans before the dub even aired that they were going to take out almost everything Japanese. When 4Kids first got the rights, they originally planned to rename the show to Hollywood Mew Mew, but that ended up not working out, for obvious reasons. And then in the end, they finalized the title as Mew Mew Power, although Hollywood Mew Mew became the title for episode 11, originally episode 10, but we'll get to that later. Almost all the text is either replaced with English or left blank. I usually don't mind these types of edits, especially if they put in a translation, but it gets kind of weird when they start having characters read out loud from a blank page.
Mystery in the city. Secret female superhero saves lives, battles monsters. Sources say that, wait, no way!
The only Japanese thing they really kept was kendo, but that was pretty unavoidable. And then there's the character names. All of the characters, with the exception of the Blue Knight and Deep Blue, had their names changed. Well, not the first dub to do this, unlike the other dubs I talked about in the last 2 videos. They didn't even attempt to come up with Western names that would match the originals. Zoe Hansen is as far away from Ichigo Momomiya as you can get, along with the other names. There were attempts at some theme naming though. Karina's last name Bucksworth and Elliot's last name Grant are supposed to reflect how rich they are, and Bridget's last name Verdant means green. The ones most affected with theme naming are the aliens. In the original, they were named after pastries, but in the English dub, they were named after negative characteristics. The alien race itself was changed to Cyniclons, which is a pun on the word cynical. Drin is nerd backwards, Tarb is brat backwards, and Sardon is short for sardonic. The parasite aliens, or Parapara for short, were changed to infusers, and the Chimera animas were changed to predicites, a pun on the words predator and parasite. Another thing, remember when I asked you guys if the Italian dubbed names sounded familiar? Well, judging from other dubs that I've seen and information given to me by people from the countries that dubbed them, it seems that quite a few of them are provided with the Italian names for international distribution, but it's up to the dubbers on whether or not they want to use them. Proof of this is still within the English dub. The names Mark, Sergio, Mimi, and Megan came from the Italian dub. Also, while I don't have a screen cap, the old 4Kids TV website accidentally labeled an avatar of Elliot as Ryan, and before the show aired, the old KOL site called Ian Nori. Some terms were also used from the Italian version. Some examples include Mini Mew saying eliminated when eating an infuser, and the characters referring to the bigger versions of Mew/Blue Aqua as crystals. Weapon and attack names were also changed, which is strange since they were in English in the first place. Admittedly really weird English and really punny, but English nonetheless. The only weapon keeping its name somewhat was the Strawberry Bell. One name change that really baffles me is Renee's Purple Dagger. Sure, they removed the cross on it, but still obviously a whip. Another change is that Karina and Renee don't have attack names. All Karina does is summon her weapon and fires. Renee doesn't even do that, she just makes grunts and attacks. The only way to even know the name of her weapon was to look up the info 4Kids provided. Changes weren't limited to the characters and terms, but to personalities and quite a bit of the plot as well. Karina is a lot more stuck up than Minto, and due to 4Kids cutting out her attraction to guys, it made her more gaga for Renee than Minto ever was for Zakuro. Sometimes they would tone down her fangirling, and sometimes they would amplify it. What was going on behind the scenes? Did 4Kids have a shipping war, and did Karina's actions concerning Renee depend on who was writing the script that day? And while Zakuro was unsocial in order to not attract fans, Renee becomes somewhat of a snob.
Oh, I didn't order this.
What do you want me to do about it?
Nothing.
Didn't think so.
Kiki was shown to be into herself in contrast to Booling.
What do you think, guys? guys! You love it, don't you? I can tell you guys are the best! Am I amazing or what? What?
Bridget is shown to be as one 4Kids commercial described her, while in the original, she was an average student who just happened to love reading. And Zoe was shown to care more about her love life and gossip. While Ichigo did worry about her relationship with Aoyama, she wasn't nearly as obsessed. And while Masha was shown to either speak in broken sentences or repeat what others said, Mew Mew can speak perfectly. As for changes in the plot, while it does share the bare bones of the original, girls who transform to fight aliens, there were a lot of changes that made plot holes. The first big example is the aliens. In the original, Earth was their home in the first place, but they had to leave due to the violent changes it was going through. But the current planet they live on is mostly inhospitable. Since it took most of their means to get there, they had to wait millions of years until they were able to go back. By the time they were able to return, they find humans inhabiting it and destroying the environment, so they just want their home back. The English dub changes this to the Cineclons always living off-world, and they ruin the environment to the point that it destroyed their planet. They then travel to an inhospitable planet, and now want Earth out of jealousy of the humans. This change bugs me the most. I know 4Kids most likely did this so the aliens would definitely seem like the bad guys, but that's also saying that there's absolutely no way an antagonist could have an understandable reason for their actions. Another big example is the pilot episode, which was originally episode 12 in Japanese. This was most likely made into a first episode to help attract new viewers, since it had most of the characters in it and a lot of the basic plot was explained. But doing this caused them to completely change about 75% of the script, and the other 25% barely even resembled the script's original intention.
Hey, Mark, does that tree make you feel like asking me anything? Know what I mean?
Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, nothing.
Hey, can I ask you something?
I guess so. You're not gonna propose to me, are you?
Nah.
Cuts and edits had to be changed so that it wouldn't reference episode 11, and then they changed the ending into Mark finding out Zoe's identity. To make it even better, 4Kids then treated this episode as if it never happened. And also because of it, the first 13 episodes are somewhat out of order. Heck, episode 13 had over 3 minutes of footage cut in order to remove references to that episode, and changed it from Ichigo being scared that Aoyama found out about her during the cherry tree incident, to Zoe being scared that Mark recognized her on TV. This was kind of confusing to the viewers. There were some who thought that this was actually episode 13, since it would air after the real episode 13. But this was because after episode 13 aired, this one aired again as a rerun. But even then it still wouldn't make sense because Mark still didn't know that she was a Mew Mew from episode 14 onwards. This is probably why some of the countries that aired the dub only showed the pilot once, or not at all. Then there's episode 16, which centered around Rekasu's first crush. I remembered when the English dub of it first aired. When it came on, a lot of people were scared that their television station skipped half of the episode. However, this was not the case. 4Kids took a scene with Ichigo and Minto and moved it to the beginning of the episode. So instead of Bridget narrating about her feelings about the situation she was in, this was changed to Zoe and Karina gossiping about her because having a character talking about herself in an episode centered around her is just plain silly. There were also changes that they weren't consistent with. All the characters had their ages changed so that they would all be teenagers. I guess they thought that kids wouldn't like a show unless everyone was in high school, I don't know. Or maybe they thought that Ichigo was too young to have the kind of relationship that the show was promoting. But yeah, the inconsistent thing. One big example was Keiichiro's age. He was 21 originally, but got aged down to 17 in the English dub. Although this seemed to be forgotten in episode 14. Elliot explains that Wesley and his ex-girlfriend broke up years before, and we see a flashback of Wesley saying that he's going to be a personal research assistant to some professor. Even if years meant at least 2, I doubt a 15-year-old would be allowed to have a job like that. Makes me wonder what they would have done for the 5-year flashback from episode 36, where he's driving a car. Then there's Kiki's family situation. In episode 8, originally episode 7, Karina tells Zoe that Kiki performs for money because she lives in a homeless shelter, thus making Zoe feel bad for telling Kiki to go home. But then in episode 20, we see her home and siblings. They added a line in which Karina said that it was something that they thought was her situation.
I'm just glad she's not a lonely, independent orphan living in a shelter like we all thought.
But this contradicts the line in episode 8. in which she was very sure of herself when she gave Zoe that information.
That girl is always in the park, Zoe. That's how she makes money. She lives in a shelter.
Huh? Ugh, I swear! Can't you just chill out and be a normal girl?
Just go home.
She doesn't even have a home.
So it was pretty obvious that it was something that 4Kids added without watching ahead. Another thing, while the Mew marks are still part of the plot of Zoe finding the other Mew Mews, the marks were erased after each girl made their debut episode, the only exception being during transformation sequences. Despite all the changes that they did, I do have some positive things to say about the English dub. For starters, other than a couple of miscasts, I didn't mind the voice actors chosen for the characters. I can actually imagine them doing a great job in an uncut dub if given a better script. Also, while the songs were changed, the songs they created, most which were sung by Bree Sharp, were really catchy. Heck, I still sing them out loud! And these songs help enhance some scenes. A couple examples. When there are group transformations, they replace them with a transformation mashup that 4Kids edited together, accompanied by a song, either Animal Instinct or Supernatural. I actually prefer these to the originals, where they would usually just show small bits of the other 4 girls and then show all of Ichigo's. At least the mashups gave the girls equal screen time. And then there's episode 9, or 10 in the English dub. It was a basic filler episode centering around Minto and her brother Seiji. It was a sweet episode, but the song that 4Kids added to it, Dance Another Day, really made this episode special. Despite some of the lazy editing, I will admit that I rather watched the 4Kids dub of this episode to the original. Also, thanks to 4Kids, kids had better access to the show, which got them to go online and search for the original. So what do I think of the Mew Mew Power dub as a whole? It's okay. Before it came out, I expected it to be cut and edited. 4Kids was dubbing it and was going to air on Saturday mornings. There was absolutely no way that it could have been uncut, but I was expecting better. They could have done better. It may have seemed overly optimistic of me, but I was actually hoping for something similar to the Korean dub. One that would be localized, with cuts and edits, but still keep to the original story and have great acting. It's one of the reasons why I think the Korean dub is one of the best dubs out there. In the end though, I don't really mind the English dub that much. Sure, it was butchered, the plot holes were immense, and the script could have been better. But it's been 10 years, and I'm over the initial shock of all of it. And over those years, I grew to appreciate the dub for what it was. Heck, I even bought the music soundtrack and imported DVDs from South Africa just so I could have all 26 episodes. Also, I appreciate the fact that this dub was fondly remembered by quite a few. You can't doubt that Mew Mew Power had a lot of fans. It was the highest watched show when it aired on 4Kids TV, and 2 of my videos concerning Mew Mew Power are my highest viewed and rated on my YouTube account. It doesn't matter if you like the original or the 4Kids dub more, you're all true Mew Mew fans in my opinion. If I had to give it a rating, if it was its own show, I would have given it an 8 out of 10. But since it is a dub, I'd have to give it a 5 or a 6. It's average from what I expected from an edited children's anime, and I have seen a lot worse than that in terms of dubbing. I'm so indifferent to it that my biggest disappointment is that 4Kids didn't even bother to finish the show. And thanks to that, a lot of other countries that dubbed from their version couldn't finish either. But that's a subject for the next video, which means that's the end of this Mew Mew blog thingy. If you have any Mew Mew topics you want me to talk about, put it in the comments below. Tune in for part 4 where I talk about the dubs from other countries that came from the English version.